My name is Mathias. I work full-time at Dwarf, and you can find me on GitHub, see my projects, or find me on LinkedIn. Now I feel like 3 microphones is a little overkill, but are you sure you're not from NSA?
No.
Okay,
I'm from where you come from.
We'll have to go with that. So, of course, special thanks to Jonathan and the team for providing, getting everything to work together, and our host, DFDS, for providing the space, and I'll say pretty amazing space. Now, how did it all start with my project? Well, at this point, it was 2016. I was still studying at university, and I was using Trello a lot. So for those of people that don't know what Trello is, it's a Kanban board online where you have tasks, and you can define pipelines and move the task between the pipelines to sort of manage what progress you have. And one of the nice features of Trello is that you can set deadlines. So you can see upcoming tasks, when are they due, and Trello, with its mighty powers, will actually highlight your deadlines. So when it's the day before it's due, it'll highlight it in yellow, then red on the date, and then it starts like a little tinted red 2 days after. And I was like, that's cool, but you know, currently I'm working with 25 tasks on a board. I a little more granularity. So I thought, what if we could define these colors ourselves? So I came up with the idea of making a Chrome extension, reads the browser data, maybe has like a little settings panel for users to decide when to show certain colors. And over the course of working on this on and off for 2 weeks, I had it done. Version 101 was released, and it was amazing. It had a user settings panel that was so cool because it just overlaid the interface, and you could drag and drop cards on Trello and it would still update the colors correctly. It was so nice. And then I realized as soon as you expanded one of the cards, I didn't show the right color. So I think this is a good indication of maybe the state of the program, how it was maybe a little rushed. But no worries, 24 hours later, version 101 was released and everything was perfect. You had the settings panel, the cards, the expanded cards as well, and it was nice for a while. So months passed and users starting to use the app more, and then I suddenly got an email about a certain bug, which was weird. Like the user had set up the settings correctly, and the colors just wasn't showing correctly. It was either showing no colors or it was showing the wrong colors. He was trying to explain to me, well, what's the issue, and I gotta be honest, I didn't know what it was. Thought maybe he was just conflicting with another Chrome extension, and then I started to get more emails. So now project managers from all over the world, US and Spain and Japan. I mean, I don't even know what kind of date that is they're doing over there. So it's getting a little hairy. I had to figure out what was going on. Talk with some of the US PMs, trying to figure out what the issue was. So it was emails back and forward, trying to figure it out. And then we actually did figure it out. So in my software, the date parsing was maybe a little too simple. So it was expecting dates to come in a certain format, you know, day, month, year, sort of the general expected thing. And the reality is just from Trello, what I got was not that. You know, whether this was US, where they for some reason switch month and day around, or Japan using characters that I don't have on my keyboard. It was just not working, and I had to come up with a solution. So at this point, still a university student, I'm heading for the exams, I have a part-time job, and I need to, you know, man up, really take responsibility and come with a solution. So what I did was I updated the description to say, sorry, only UK English is supported. I felt that since the project was under MIT license, I could kind of be like, well, you can fix it yourself if you want to. And that was about the end of the project. So, let's take a status looking at the project. So it's currently sitting at 2.6 stars with approximately 400 users. So I would say overall, it's not great. Not great, but I think there's good reason. You can't quite expect people to give you 5 stars when your app doesn't work in their native language. I think that might be a fine expectations, but that's how it is. So what did I learn from this experience? Well, some of the things I wish I'd have done better was maybe test my app a little more thoroughly before releasing. I might have been able to catch the little language issue early on if I had actually gone through it. I'm also sad that I didn't follow up on the project. I understand in my case it was really time that was the main problem factor, that I just couldn't do it, but I feel like the app had a lot of potential, and I mean some people are still using it apparently. And then the third thing I really wish I had done was to tag the program to sort of indicate that it's in a unstable state, maybe. So either saying it's beta or 0.1, something like that. Then in regards to what I thought was really, really good about the experience, the first thing was just that I realized that the features I cared about was not aligning with what everyone else wanted. So you saw the user panel for a second, and that's just janky jQuery with the basic Bootstrap CSS laid on. I was like, this is gonna get rebuilt, this is gonna be exciting. And I just never touched it, and I have never gotten bad feedback about it. They only care about the language. I also realized that I think one of the good things was that I released so early, so I didn't have to spend time on all this extra styling stuff that nobody actually cared about. And if I had followed up on the app, well, I would have focused a lot more on the language right away than what my cards necessarily looked like, really focusing on what people actually wanted. And I learned how hard it is to debug when you don't have any debugging tools written into your software at all, like Bugsnag or Sentry, anything like that. And you have to like ask people on emails to like open their console in the browser. Like it's just horrible. So that's sort of the general experience. And how am I going to go about releasing software from now on? Well, I think it depends sort of on the project, what I'm going to do, but I think the main first point is that since a lot of the projects I develop by myself or in a smaller team, I think I'm going to start to use beta releases more so that I can get the user feedback that I need, that I think can figure out what features I should start focusing on more. Then the second thing is actually listening to your user feedback and not just writing it off in your description for your app. And like it's not just what they say about a certain bug, it's also listening to what they write in their reviews, what features they like, what they want to see more of, what they want to see less of. And then the third thing, I felt like I had to put a third thing in here, just the rule of thirds. So don't use your personal email as the support email. As it turns out, when people find a bug, you won't just get one email, you'll get one for every user. And that might mess up your inbox a little bit. And then I thought about, well, when should you release a certain project? And I thought about it, you could use deadlines, say this is the date, let's get as many features in. That's how a lot of projects work. You have the idea of minimal viable product, that you set a certain number of features. We need to get these done to have a minimal viable product, then release it afterwards. Sometimes you want to get a stable release right off the bat. And the reality is, I can't tell you what's going to work for your project. We've seen projects just fail or succeed in different releasing strategies. And I think it really comes down to whatever project you're working on. to find a strategy that works with that. That's sort of a non-answer for you, but if we kind of look at some of the more general, I love to perspect into other fields, and some of the things I enjoy are game and movies, and we know one of the most well-known games that released in a beta state and just turned out to be this massive success, you know, starting from an alpha version that is barely recognizable from the new version. And you have games that chose a different path where they just have a stable release right off the bat and still, you know, manage to get great user reviews. So both successes, but with different techniques. And then you have games that are released a little too early maybe, or maybe they didn't focus quite on the right thing. So it's just really hard to say what should work for you. And I think even in fields where you might feel like you need a stable release and you don't have time to actually get any user feedback, you know, sometimes you can do maybe just a little bit of feedback. And I think if you've gone to the movies lately, you've probably seen one of the good examples. I don't know if any have seen the new Sonic movie, but I think that's a good case where just a little bit of early user feedback really just turned a project upside down and actually turned out to be quite a decent project. So unfortunately, I can't tell you when to release a project, but I hope you've gotten some insight from how I'm gonna do it from now on and inspired you to figure out how you're gonna do it. So that's all I'm gonna say. Thanks for listening.